Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news, and sometimes reviews. In this video, we're taking a look at the Insta360 Link 2. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, Insta360 sent me this Link 2 for a fair and honest review, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. This is an AI-powered 4K webcam. They say it's got AI tracking, whiteboard recognition, smart control, background blur, and even more. They say the sensor on this camera is a 1/2 inch, which is a lot bigger than other cameras out there and will hopefully give you a better picture. The audio on this one, they say, is powered by AI. There is some noise canceling as well. Now, taking a look inside the box, the very first thing I see is the camera and the magnetic mount. Underneath the mount, we've got a package with the quick start guide as well as some stickers and some other things. They also include a Type-C to Type-A adapter, which is nice because not everybody has spare USB-C ports out there. And the included USB-C to USB-C cable is fairly long and feels fairly high quality. I was impressed with this cable and glad they didn't cheap out. I mean, the length of the cable should be good enough to put this thing behind your monitor and plug it into your PC, hopefully, unless your PC is really far away or something. Now, this camera pivots on 2 different axes here, so it goes left and right and up and down, and depending on where you are, this thing will track you and move accordingly. You don't have to move it. The USB-C port is located on the back of the base of the camera, and the microphone is located on the top of the camera, and we'll test out that microphone later on in the video. The mount for the camera is magnetic. It's fully made of metal and does not feel cheap. There's also threads on the bottom of this if you wanted to connect it to a tripod or something like that. I'm assuming that most people will probably just put the mount on the top of their monitor or top of their laptop, but it's nice to know you can screw this into a tripod if necessary and if you wanted to locate it somewhere else. I was also very impressed with the strength of the magnet on the mount. It grips it with force and it passes the shake test. This camera is not going to fall off by accident. It was on there pretty darn good just from the magnet. And here's a picture of the camera on top of my screen. When not in use, the camera points down for privacy so that lens is not pointed right at your face, which I think is a real nice feature. So at this point in time, you are looking at me through the video from the Insta360 Link 2, and I've done absolutely nothing to it just yet. This is the default picture. So I've gone ahead over to Insta360's website and downloaded the Insta360 Link controller to change around some settings and see what I can do with this camera. By default, it seems it's sitting at 4K 30. And I have overhead lights on right now. I'm going to change those and just turn the lights off and see how things go. So I've turned the lights off in this room, and the only thing on right now is a blue PlayStation light behind me. You can see it right there. This lens is doing a very good job. The sensor in the camera is doing a very good job at picking up this picture. There is a bit of noise, but at the same time here, it doesn't seem like it's struggling. I'm wondering, there seems to be a bit of latency, at least between my voice and what I can see on screen here. We'll see when I edit the video. What I want to do next is lower the resolution and see if there's any difference in picture quality at this low light. So lower it down to 1080p 30 here. And take a look overall, and it seems it's a little less noisy. It still looks really good. I'm impressed with this camera so far. I mean, a lot of cameras, a lot of webcams really struggle in low light, and it just seems that the Insta360 Link 2 is not struggling at all. So at this point, I've gone on ahead and turned on the standard YouTube lights that I normally use for my videos. I've got one on the left side of the monitor and one on the right side of the monitor. And I've also got one directly behind the monitor. Now I'm going to shut those off in real time so you can see this camera adjust. But so far here, it just seems to be doing a pretty good job. So at this point in time, I've only got the right side on. I guess it's on your left. But anyways here, I think this camera is doing a fantastic job adjusting to the lighting, and I'm really liking the sensor. The next step for me is to turn back on those lights, and well, you can see the camera adjust. So it does take a couple of seconds here to adjust. You can see I'm a little bit blown out, but then the camera calms down and adjusts automatically, and it does a really good job. I find with a lot of other webcams out there, I am changing the settings left, right, and center to try to get a nice picture. And this camera is doing a good job just doing that all on its own. I am very impressed so far. Now at this point in time, I've gone on ahead and turned back on my ceiling lights. I've got my YouTube lights on. I've got the brightness cranked, and it's very bright in here. It's kind of hard to look into the camera without squinting too much. I am very impressed with how the Insta360 Link 2 is dealing with this. I mean, I'm looking at the video, other webcams, and I've tested out a whole bunch. Other webcams struggle with gain, they struggle with white balance, they struggle with a whole lot. And whatever magic Insta360 is doing here, I am very impressed. I didn't have to tweak any settings, and this is what I'm getting here. Obviously, if you tweak them, you might be able to get them a little bit better. But at the same time here, I'm impressed with what this is. Now, I know I've talked a lot about the video on this camera so far, but in my opinion, the video is the most important thing about the camera. In my opinion, that's the main reason people are buying a webcam. The video is the most important thing. And so far, it's been so good. We're going to talk more about it in just a second and explore a few more things. But taking a look on the right side of the screen here in the Link controller, I see AI tracking, whiteboard, and zoom. This camera's got a lot of features. So what I'm going to do now is put my hand up to where it says AI tracking, and it should follow me around a little bit as I move around the room here. And I like that quite a bit. So it tries to keep you in the center here. You can walk around, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to squat down a little bit, go up a little bit, and yeah, it keeps me in frame right in the center. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a whiteboard, so I'm not going to be testing out that feature. But if you're a professor or a teacher or something, you can probably use the whiteboard. Utilize that peace sign, and well, it should hopefully find a whiteboard for you. I don't have one, so I can't test this out. But at the same time, I've seen other videos, and I'll drop one in the description below if you wanted to see that feature tested out. The last feature here to test out is zoom. So if you hold your hand like an L, I guess, and point it up to zoom it in, and pull it down to zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. I guess I'm struggling a little bit. There we go. So I would say the zoom in and zoom outs are not as smooth as I would like. I'm struggling to get it zoomed back out. I'm zoomed in a little bit here. Please zoom me back out. I think I'm going to fiddle with this off video to get it back to where it was. All right, so I got it figured out. I went over into view here, and I think this is just easier to do. Go into view, and you can zoom in and zoom out to your heart's content, and also move the camera around if you feel like it that way. I think this is a very good option. Alternatively, you can use your phone. So on the top of the screen, there's a little button right here. It says connect your mobile phone to remotely control the device. Now, I'm not going to click on this because it'll pop up a QR code, and I don't need you scanning that to control my camera on me. So I'm going to click this and scan it with my phone. All right, so I've got the controls on my phone, and what I'm going to do now is zoom in and zoom out. And you can see me using the slider there on my phone to zoom in and zoom out on this camera. I'm going to use this center wheel here, move the camera to the left a little bit here, move it up a little bit, and move it back over to the other way, and then hit the reset button to bring the camera back to where it should go. This is very functional. Now, interestingly, I've got all of the options that this Link controller has right on my phone here. So I'm in the More menu, and you can see it's the exact same as what's on screen. And if I go into the effects and click the effects here on my phone, I've got the exact same controls, and that's pretty awesome. And speaking about effects, let's apply one of these to the background and see what happens. Yeah, I've just put myself into an office, into a different kind of office, into a cafe of sorts, and where's this taking me? It's just an animated background. So I don't really have to do anything. This is very similar to some other applications you may be familiar with. Additionally here, let's check out the filters. So we'll stay in the cafe, and this is portrait, a little bit lighter here. This is daylight. Then we have vintage 1, vintage 2, neon, and the last one. So I guess I'm just going to turn everything off. Let me know which one you thought looked the best. I guess it's nice to have these options. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the problems I have is that I generally talk with my hands, and sometimes that will trigger a gesture. So I can shut those off, which is one thing I really like here. And let's check out the audio on this camera, because you've been hearing me right through my Electro Voice RE20. And let's see what the camera has to offer. So here's me speaking into the Insta360 Link 2. Now, one of the problems I have is that it's sitting right beside my laptop, and you may get some laptop fan noise. But fortunately here, there are some options that I can check. So right now it's sitting at voice focus, but I can put it on voice suppression, and hopefully that helps cut out some of that background noise. At the same time here, I generally prefer a more expensive microphone to do that for me, but if you don't have that option and wanted to use the audio from the webcam, well, this is what you get. And then the music balance option, I don't know if this changes anything, but here's what I sound like using the music balance option. So let's keep this on voice suppression just for a few minutes here and see how things go. Now, I haven't even checked out compatibility settings yet. I'm noticing portrait resolution and high frame rate, as well as enable low resolution. Both of those options are off by default, and my options right now are 4K 30, 1080p 30, and 720p 30 in landscape mode. And that is it. I can't get up to 60 frames per second yet. All right, so I enabled both options because every time you do it does reset the camera. And here now are my options. I've got 4K 30, 1080p 30, 720p 30, and 360p 30 in landscape. And in portrait, I've got the exact same options except 360p. I'm noticing again, no 60 frames per second, which is interesting. I did reach out to Insta360 on this one, and they said they haven't implemented the feature, but it will be coming soon. And you can force the camera to go into 60 frames per second, just not using the Link controller yet. Now, for those of you wondering about Linux, I have switched now from Windows to Linux, and this is my standard YouTube recording setup, and the camera is working. There is no official software yet for Linux at all. I don't know if it'll ever get official software. But at the same time here, the camera is plug and play as well on Linux. Although I haven't got the gesture controls to work on Linux, at the same time here, everything else seems to be working. And the camera is tracking me around as I move around the room here. So overall, I'm very impressed with this camera and even Linux capabilities here. I mean, again, plug and play. Now, admittedly on Linux, I've got a few more options to tinker around with, and I can force the camera into 60 frames per second, which is what I've done, and I'm hoping it's holding up at 60 frames per second. So let's go over the price of this thing, what I like about it, what I don't like, and whether or not I recommend it. So taking a look on Amazon here, and the Insta360 Link 2 is priced at $200. So let's get into my likes and dislikes, and we'll start out here with my likes. First and foremost, I love the sensor in this camera. Having a 1/2-inch sensor here, I think, does the webcam extreme justice. It does a very good job in low light. It does a good job with a lot of light. Whatever science they've got going on in the background too, I love. A lot of the auto settings, I'm not a big fan of on a lot of different cameras. But on the Insta360, it seems to be doing very well. Overall, I think this is a fantastic looking camera. Now, additionally here, as to what I like the fact that if you walk around the room a lot, if you're a streamer and you stream in different areas of your room, if you're a teacher and you like to teach, or if you're in a meeting room with a bunch of people, you can walk around and the camera will follow you. It's one of the great features about this camera. And the microphone with noise suppression turned on was surprisingly good for a webcam. And now let's get into my dislikes, and I really have just one. And that is the fact that the software wouldn't allow me to enable 60 frames per second. There was a high frame rate option and it just didn't work. And yes, they're going to be enabling it in the future, but at the same time here, when they're selling the camera, to me, that should already be there and available for people to use. I don't know of a lot of people who will know how to go into the camera and force it in OBS or something like that. I think a lot of people will be using that software, and the option just isn't there. Now, as to whether or not I think this camera is worth it, you can see I'm moving around the camera and it's adjusting the frame just a little bit here. As to whether or not I think this camera is worth it, I would say yes, absolutely yes, if you're in need of a camera like this. If you're looking for something that can move around a little bit, if you're looking for something with a really, really good sensor, then this camera may be up your alley. I am very impressed with this camera overall, and at $200, I think it blows a lot of the competition out of the water. I have tested a lot of webcams over the years, and this one required the least amount of configuration, and I was very impressed with that. To be fully honest with you, and Insta360 is not paying me to say this at all, based on all of the cameras I've reviewed thus far on my channel, this is the best one. This is the best one in terms of picture quality. This is the best one in terms of features, although the zoom in and zoom out didn't work that well. I guess that goes in my dislikes too. The zoom in and zoom out feature didn't work that great. But at the same time, I could use it on my phone and zoom in and zoom out there, or just use the app, and that worked too. Now, overall, this has been the best camera that I have ever reviewed on this channel. It's got better picture, better features. It's just plug and play. Everything just works well. I am very impressed with this one overall. I was not expecting to be blown away by this webcam. But here we are, and here I am being blown away by it. Great job, Insta360, on the Link 2. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. Let me know your thoughts about the Insta360 Link 2 in the comments below. How do you like the picture? How did you like the sound? How do you like the feature suite? How do you like the whole package for the price point of $200? Let me know your thoughts about the entire thing in the comments below. Shoutouts to Insta360 for letting me do this fair and honest review. They didn't tell me to say anything. These are all of my thoughts, and well, I'm very impressed here. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.